Hello and welcome back to Techerati. We're here at Tech Show London and we're very fortunate today to be joined by Dr Jacqui Taylor, who is CEO of Flying Binary, founder of the Empathy Economy, and also named by Computer Weekly as one of the 15 most influential women in UK tech. Dr Jacqui, welcome.
Delight to be back here, actually here in Excel in London. I've always wanted to coalesce things at this particular show because the whole industry meets. And what I always say is when we as tech folks get together, that's where magic happens. It might be something that somebody says on stage, it might be a question we get, it might be, over a coffee or at a stand, but literally there's no substitute for that human piece.
Absolutely, and after such a break, and we've learned so much in that break too. It's very interesting, Jacqui, that you've talked about the tech community and how powerful it is on this scale at an exhibition. I do know that as a founder and the person who operates the Empathy Economy, you triggered something quite significant last night, which will have an impact in Europe and what's currently happening there.
Yes, I think that what we've all learned over this pandemic, as we've all had to adjust both our personal lives and our business lives, 1 billion additional people have come online and are using tech to really blend that business and personal experience. But the events over the last week have taken a different turn for all that we need to do from a tech point of view. And we're already mobilised for the Empathy Economy, have done for many years now. And just prior to pandemic, 100 million entrepreneurs across 170 countries. And of course that in pandemic allowed us to reach out, have resources, deliver what was necessary and learn what a new trust approach for technology would be. And then obviously a week ago with what happened with the invasion of Ukraine, that allowed us to look at what might we give, what might we mobilise, what might we need in order to keep the technology companies in Ukraine operating.
Yes.
And I think that the key thing to sort of tell your listeners is the second largest export from Ukraine is IT outsourcing. And there are many amazing companies in Ukraine that deliver that. And it's been our mission from the Empathy Economy to do whatever we can to support whatever they need, which of course changes by the day. And then overnight there's been some changes that have meant that we've needed to mobilise some additional things today. But really just wanted to highlight that as tech we stand together, be it against a virus, be it against an invasion. We're the enabler. And it's amazing to see. And so many have asked about what they can do to contribute. But we've particularly focused on supporting the tech companies and what they need.
Absolutely. And I suppose this is multifaceted. It's coming from several different directions, supporting people who are becoming exiles from the country, supporting people to run tech within the country. I wonder if you can just break down the process a little bit. You were notified that these changes were going to happen online in tech over the last sort of 48 hours. You then proceeded to take action by reaching out to your collaborators in this extraordinary network. Can you take us through in a little more detail what the other actions might have been?
Yeah, so we were already mobilised weeks ago because it was an increasingly dangerous situation. And so one of the things I want to tell everybody is the tech companies haven't been mobilised in the last 48 hours or even in the last week. We've mobilised over the last weeks. We knew that we had to prepare for things. And as a cyber specialist, we don't deal with threats, we deal with risks in the Empathy Economy. And that was a huge risk, given the importance of the tech industry to Ukraine. So we'd already done a bunch of mobilisation and activated the networks to help. But we knew that as the invasion happened, what we were going to struggle with most was the connectivity. And of course, Elon Musk, possibly many of you know, has mobilised Starlink for Ukraine. The boxes, that was mobilised and up for 26th of February. The boxes were shipping in on the 28th of February. We had engineers, taking snapshots of their bandwidth, which was a joy. We were all cheering around the world on that. Taking pictures of boxes. People in my social feeds are going, why are you sending us boxes? What are these boxes?
Very significant boxes.
Yeah, very significant boxes. I think as engineers, we all got really excited of the fact that, no matter what what an enemy can do, no matter what they think they can do with traditional responses. Tech has a response too, and that's been fantastic. And the first shipments are in at Ukraine, and that's up and running. The next shipments are on the way in, and we've obviously had to do a little bit more than that. For some people, it hasn't been safe to stay there. So there's a safe haven program where people have been able to go where they needed to go. That's been both East and West. We've heard a lot about what's happened in terms of the West, but it's been both East and West. And I want to thank all the tech companies who've stood up for that. And then there's been a bunch of other requests about, I suppose one of the other requests has been about the thing that we all talk about in our industry, which is about talent acquisition.
Yes.
It's always been, funding and talent have always been the biggest problems we've all had to solve. Yeah, the gap, yeah, absolutely. And so the talent piece of it, when your talent is stuck in a war zone effectively, what do you do? And a real huge thanks to the UK government for activating on the talent visas. I've had messages of CEOs in tears over the last few days as their people are out of Ukraine, their families were out, and they've had to come out because it's just not safe where they are. And that's using the talent visa system from the UK. And it's really great to see that mobilised and expedited. And obviously there's lots still to do in that emerging situation. But again, tech getting what it needs. I do have some diplomatic initiatives as well, because some things are a little bit more serious and part of the main effort. And so those channels are open. And then the other thing that the tech industry's done, which I find amazing, is they all want to help. And that's fantastic. And I will be putting some resources out there tomorrow for how we've mobilised funding. Because one of the key things this week has been, we might not be able to pay our people. So how do we mobilise that? What does that look like? So we've been dealing with that. But I think the other thing is essentially we've got other resources, and also we've got material I'm hoping to get out tomorrow to stories from the tech companies about what they have actually done. We did this worked. We did this and it didn't. We recommend this has been awesome. So we've got some of that going out and being seeded onto the networks today, but I'm hoping to be able to pull all that material together and put that out generally on the empathy economy tomorrow. Really, I would say that, whether you catch that or not, the message is tech always is inventive, creative. There's a mobilisation, yes, but there's some serendipity in tech collaborating on something like this, because it brings out the best in us. And we're always excited about what else it can do. Oh, look what I can see it can do, And so if you do want to be able to contribute to it, the resources I'll put out tomorrow will be the network of resources that we've been using and give the access to the tech industry. And on a humanitarian basis, I'm not dealing with that. What I would say and what I've said to everybody is the Red Cross are doing their amazing work and obviously taking a neutral position in country. One of our tech entrepreneurs is matching donations on that. Everybody's stepping up, and there is something everybody can do. Humanitarian-wise, definitely the Red Cross Ukraine. So if you reach out to the Red Cross Ukraine, and then keep your receipts for anything you've donated, because we've got tech entrepreneurs that are going to match those donations.
Fantastic. And these extra resources that you're putting out tomorrow, will they be on the Flying Binary website?
No, they're going to come from the Empathy Economy Tech, but I am going to spread them across social media. So obviously I'll be tagging you and the Techerati to do that, because I do know people are generally saying, but what can I do? And it's been really a fast-paced week to understand what problems we had and what we needed to handle and the order of them. I think more than anything, that's been, we just got the priorities and people have been the priority, to be honest.
It sounds like it's been a constant process of evaluation. You've had to be reactive because of the threat rather than an attack, the threats that you're dealing with in tech. And you're learning just on the hoof constantly. Yeah. I'm wondering how visible all of these actions will be in the digital realm to the rest of the world.
None of you will see anything. So the thing about the empathy economy is it doesn't use technology. You see the world through the sharing economy, its lens of the social networks. That's not the way the empathy economy works. So it's actually, it's visible in plain sight, but you've no access unless you're in. Right. And one of the things I'll be doing today at the show is giving everybody at the show access to it. because again, it's important that we as networks build, strength and capability.
Strength and resource.
Yeah, and tech is that enabler. It's never the outcome, it's never the point, but what can it achieve? What can it enable? And we've got a whole host of companies just outside the door we're in here that are saying, well, we can help here and we can help there. And I do feel that the tech industry through pandemic and particularly this crisis, because that's a response that we never thought we'd have to make, has shown what good it delivers in the world. Unfortunately, the sharing economy monetizes us, our data, what we all do, and that doesn't establish the trust we need to create that collaboration I'm talking about. So it's been one heck of a week, lots of weeks of planning, but what a heck of a week, and literally we're just rolling with every day. We're all just rolling with every day.
Wow, Jacqui, so I'm just trying to envisage what you'll be doing in response to all of these events over the next day or so.
We have got a situation where things are mobilised now. We've got a number of responses in play, which might have to change. I hope to put some of those resources out so that the networks, the technology networks, can share that with their networks. We're not connected with everybody, so it'd be good to get that information out. Obviously, nothing that puts anybody in jeopardy. And then it's business as usual tomorrow for the Flying Binary team, because we're actually doing the deep dive on the new empathy economy branding. And we've done the sort of official, what does the industry believe the empathy economy is as a brand, and took my brand lead completely by surprise. She goes, "Oh, we came out as rebel," and everybody else just laughed. and it's like
predictable.
Yeah, pretty predictable. She's like, "But it's so caring, it's so humanitarian and what have you." Yeah, but rebels still.
Independent.
Yeah, and I think that independence of thinking. And when, I was with Sir Tim Berners-Lee when we pressed the button for the sharing economy, and we had great hopes for it. We really did. And we all put our energies into it. But we're in a place where that's not where we need to be today. So it's business as usual for us. Tomorrow it's an all-hands branding experience, deep dive stuff, as all the resources are put in there. And then on Monday I'll be in the House of Lords with one of the peers, and we are looking at moving the needle on social justice. And so I'll be with 24 other women who like the multiplier effect I talk about with the empathy economy, and we'll be discussing what we can all do there. And then on International Women's Day, I've got a number of events lined up for that, and I start at 8 o'clock on Tuesday morning in Australia, and then I follow the world for International Women's Day.
Just an average week, really. Sounds like mine. No.
Yeah.
It seems like inclusion is also a huge part of what you're doing at the moment, and social mobility, and keeping the world safe and creating these mechanisms to keep people safe seems to be a huge part of inclusion as well. You're working at a macro level and a micro level, and that's fascinating. I wonder if you'd be able to share some of the other points you'll be addressing when you meet in the House of Lords.
So we are where we are will be the first sentence. So we're here now, and what do we need to do? And we have technology that reaches out across the world to answer that question. We have 34 million citizens across the world that we consult when we're looking to make a change. And I will be making that point first. Why are we not asking people what we need? Because we can. Technology can do that for us. But that aside, we will look at priorities, we'll look at policy, we'll look at the next sort of 12 months to International Women's Day again. Because as leaders, we all need to be, and we all are, stepping forward as part of the response. But we each bring something very different. So I'm very intrigued to find out how we look at we've obviously got the same inclusion agenda. For Flying Binary, our mission is inclusion, leave no one behind. We do that by delivering empathy economy technology. But equally, there may be one or two other technologists, but these are people from all across the UK that have been gathered together to speak about this. And I think that's to me an amazing thing about the UK. Ideas are shared, communities are built, collaboration starts, and then we find ourselves on International Women's Day a year later, having moved that needle. But it's just something we're all passionate about anyway. And technology can deliver or it can elevate the opportunities people have. So last night I was talking to a young lady who has just applied for her MSc in computer science, and she has a learning difference. And she said to me, the world doesn't understand what it needs, but we all have a piece of the jigsaw. Is that
Absolutely.
right? And I said, yes, there's just one caveat to that. Technology underpins it.
Right.
And so Josie said to me, I get that.
Yeah.
I get that.
So technology is very much, it's a conduit, but it also enhances everything as well.
It does,
That's an
yeah.
important point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it always, for me, I've never subscribed to Industry 4.0, the robots take over. That is nonsense. I don't believe any of us are sleepwalking our way into that future, that dystopian future. But it does require us all to collectively navigate and, more importantly, negotiate that. And I think events like this are where those conversations perhaps are born or they're perpetuated. And then I know that all the contacts over the time I've been with the show, which is many years now, people feel comfortable having met me at the keynote, heard what I say, to reach out and ask. And I've had 2 companies I haven't spoken to for probably 3 years now reach out this morning and say, can we come and stop by after the keynote? A couple of things we wanted to cover. And I think that perhaps as a show, you don't quite appreciate what connections it creates, because it creates them beyond the show.
Yes,
So
the legacy.
it
We'll have to
is,
follow
yeah.
up more. And it's great to hear that these keynotes and every sort of fireside and panel might be catalytic in some way,
Absolutely.
especially at a timely time.
Yes.
So, yes, I'm just thinking about how you might describe the sharing economy versus the empathy economy to more of a layman, someone who wouldn't be part of this tech community. What would it look like? What would it sound like?
It's the thing that people say to me. In fact, I was going through Josie's dissertation last night, and she said, people say to me, I vaguely know that. Something, I get a feed online, I think, that's a weird thing. Where's that come from? And so at the moment, you're the product in the sharing economy. The tech that's there views you as a product. You don't pay for it, largely. Our data, but our lives, our businesses, they're all part of it. It's gone beyond us now. So we're a part of a connected graph that is being monetized by the sharing economy. And so, all of your listeners will know of an instance where you think, wow, why did I get that? Where's that come from? And it's like, I don't want that. And so you try and click through it, which of course activates the algorithm to send you more. And it can get quite aggressive in terms of things it's sending you really don't care about. And that's because you're actually the product and the algorithm's feeding you what it thinks it knows about you. And so the empathy economy doesn't start from there, because the technology is built to respect us, our humanity, our privacy, our security, and it's built on a new trust model. So really, for anybody who isn't building tech, you wouldn't notice. It's just the engine behind it is built and architected and configured and delivered in a completely different way. So just to give you an actual example, because it's quite difficult to explain if you're not a technologist, and we're working in partnership with the UK's Information Commissioner at the moment on a project we call Social Guardian. And what we're doing there is we're understanding how, governments and regulators and lawmakers can hold tech to account for the things it's doing potentially to harm us because it's not with our agreement. So the fact it's free doesn't allow you to just do anything you like. And so we're working specifically on an acute mental health condition for our young people as young as 6. But what we've been showing the regulator is actually you can build tech to protect people. You don't start with the money, you start with the person. And so it is literally turning everything that's been done in the tech industry and sharing economy, turn it upside down and starting from the different place. And I held a town hall on Clubhouse on the 2nd of September when some new regulation came in to protect our children online. And I was inundated with questions from the technology industry to be like, don't we do this already? And it's like, no. And so I've agreed with the ICO that we'll release some resources into the public domain, or most of this is commercially sensitive, but we'll release some resources into public domain because our technology industry is actually surprised at where we've ended up as much as we are surprised.
Right, we're growing at the same time.
Yes, and so what the technologists asked me on the Clubhouse town hall I did was, well, where would we start? What would that look like? How would we do it? So we're hoping to release a report that covers the basic things we've done to show how technology doesn't need to be designed like sharing economy, where we're the product, how it's a new trust model, where we're actually supported and our lives are enhanced. And it is a completely different paradigm. If any of you are looking at this from a point of view of, is my tech doing that? Are our teams building it like that? Is it sharing economy tech? It is. So this is, when I do my keynote later this morning, I will be saying, you're all here now, but you don't have to stay. The one thing I want to get across, and it's the conversation we often have at the show, is about career development. What we do for tech actually enhances us in our personal lives, but we contribute an awful lot as well. So I have a section in my talk talking about it's actually an opportunity now to join the empathy economy and to start to build tech the world wants to see, that will make the world a better place, and create tech with impact. It's a trust model, but it's actually an impact play. So Flying Binaries Empathy Economy Tech has reached and positively impacted over half the world's population. We're planning to do more. Don't worry for those thinking, what about the rest of the world? That's what we're planning to do next. It can have an impact. It hasn't had all the impact it can do. The pandemic has accelerated the empathy economy by a long way. So many more people online, so many more people using technology. And if we as a tech industry embrace the idea there's a new way to do this, and actually it amplifies everything we do. There's a CFO said to me, the chief financial officer said to me once, he said, so this is P&L positive. You're talking about a 2 times or a 60 times, because that's our best result so far, return on investment multiplier. I'm doing it now. What is it? And I think that's the point. This is P&L positive change for building technology with a new mission, essentially. New business models, commercial models, financial models. And that's really what the empathy economy gives us.
And it sounds as if it's had such a pervasive reach already throughout different countries and territories. But who do you need on board now? Do you need to get governments on board? Or is it purely the tech sector, the commercial sector, who need to be behind it?
My work in the UN, effectively, the governments are on board and at varying levels of capability and on a mission to move. And obviously, I'm wearing my UN badge today. We're directing those efforts from a sustainability point of view and delivering on net zero. So that's its move from there. And understanding how you can rewire our economies using this tech, using this approach to actually, I put 4.4% GDP growth on the table, which goes a long way to getting it adopted. Personally, I'm reaching out to the tech industry today to see, their response, to get their questions likely, and then to look at what else we might do to mobilise there. And then I will go later this year as I change the rules around the principles under which the technology industry is built, which will be after May this year, then actually entrepreneurs, because entrepreneurs are banging down my door to get involved. And we have many of them involved, but they actually want to pivot their businesses to deliver net zero too. So that's going to be my focus on the second half of this year, is to give them the resources, the tech and the support to do that. So mobilising for net zero, I can't think of a better reason to do what we do as a tech industry. And we have the tools in our hands, but we don't have necessarily the priorities that allow us to do that or the focus to do it. And so that's partly the reason for using the show to reach out to the industry and ask them what they need, because I have my own views about what we've done and what we've done across the world, governments, Fortune 100, those sorts of companies. But what does our industry need? So that's really fact-finding for me today.
Yes, there's going to be a huge amount of listening involved in developing this transactional way of being, this empathy economy. You mentioned May as a sort of a deadline or a transitional point. I wonder if you're happy to share some more about what that might be in May.
So one of the things that we've never done as a tech industry is clarified the principles under which our industry runs. You know, what are the principles that underpin what we do as an industry? And that is conversations that's gone across nations across the world. And I've been running with that agenda since last May. We had a virtual get-together in November to progress that work. And then in May, effectively, provided I get support for it, those principles will underpin the next phase of development for the industry. And have we had opposition? Not really. Everybody who has contributed, been overwhelmed by the contribution from the industry. But we will need a new plan as to how that gets delivered. But we need to ratify everything that's been done so far. The tools for the changes will be delivered at that point, and then it's a question of how do we move from capability, which is what we've been building for nearly a year now, to capacity. And that will help everybody. But I must say that many technology industries and vendors have already moved. They didn't really need any persuading. They're like, this is just sensible. We've never really declared what we do and why we do it. So let's stand on those principles and say, here they are. And it's been fascinating to see collaboration across the world. There hasn't been exceptions. Lots of conversations, lots of understanding, well, how would that work at a national level? You know, because our tech industry operates globally largely, but at a national level, some of the nations will want to accelerate that, and they are doing. Some of the vendors are taking leadership positions in there, which is fantastic. And I think that really it's an idea whose time has come for our industry. But it's fabulous to come to the show and bring it home. Yes. You know, to do this. This is the first time I've ever spoken to the technology industry about the empathy economy. Right. So doing this here at home in London, it's a big deal for me today.
It's really relevant at this time in history where we need that collaboration. Yeah. So a few things have conflated here. Really interesting. Jacqui, thank you so much for sharing your thoughts, views and work with us today, and I hope we'll catch up with you in the future as well.
Oh, absolutely, guaranteed. And thanks for everybody's support at the show here. It's been amazing.
Brilliant. Thank you very much indeed.